So this is the hand towel that I'll be making with you. It's a miniature of the baby blanket. If you're making the baby blanket, it's made the exact same way. The only difference is you have a larger starting chain, and then the number of rows that you make also is more, of course. And I'm going to demonstrate, instead of making the full baby blanket on video tutorial, I'm going to be making this little hand towel for you. If you're a beginner, you may want to make this hand towel and then graduate up to the larger baby blanket. But it's just a lot of fun to make this pattern, and it's called my Hugs and Kisses baby pattern. And then I just have a simple shell for the border. But I'm going to show you how to make the center portion as well as the border with this hand towel. For this crochet project, you're going to need your 6mm crochet hook, as well as a pair of scissors and a darning needle or tapestry needle. Now, if you like how my baby blanket turned out, I used a different yarn than what I'm going to be showing you on video tutorial, because I'm not going to be making the blanket to size. So I'm going to be demonstrating how to make this blanket by making a little washcloth, and I'll be using 100% cotton for the video tutorial. And the yarn that I use for my video tutorial is I Love This Cotton yarn, and the color is aqua. It's 100% cotton. And then I'm also using I Love This Cotton yarn in a different color. So I'm choosing the aqua color and then just a lighter blue color to go with it. So this will be the main color, and then I'm going to make the border with the different colored blue. If you like the yarn that I used for this blanket, it's Bernat Baby Sport. It's a light 3 style yarn, and the color is Baby Ombre. And if you want the same size as mine, I started with a chain of 124 for the baby blanket, and the measurement is approximately 34 inches by 34 inches. I just love this style for baby blankets because it's so easy. You could take it with you. It's an easy pattern, so you don't have to have a pattern with you when you go. Once you learn the initial stitch, then you can just bring your crochet hook and your yarn and you're good to go. So I just wanted to show you that with this blanket you can see the X's, and then in between are the O's. So XO, 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 which is why I named it Hugs and Kisses Baby Blanket. So to start, just grab whatever main color that you want for the main portion of your blanket. And you're going to fold over the yarn on itself to form a loop. Then take your crochet hook, go right through the loop, hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and your thumb. Then just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through the loop for a slip knot. Go ahead and cinch that knot down. And then I'm just going to show you 4 chains on video tutorial. So you just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, 4. So for mine, I'm starting with a chain of 30, and it measures, if you're making the washcloth like I am, it measures approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches across. Then you're just going to take and make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So count back 1, 2, 3, 4, and then make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So you yarn over, go into the loop, or the chain I mean, bring up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through 2. You have 2 loops remaining. Go ahead and yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the 2 remaining loops. Then you're just going to make 1 double crochet in every stitch back across. So the first thing you want to do is yarn over, go into the next stitch, bring up a loop, make a double crochet, and you're going to make 1 row of just 1 double crochet into every stitch. So again, if you're making the baby blanket, I started with a chain of 124, and then you do the same thing. You just double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, and then make 1 double crochet in every stitch back across. So I'm going to show you a couple more. You're making just 1 double crochet in every stitch back across. And then come back. So now I have 28 stitches after finishing the first row. So now we're going to start the design. So the first thing you're going to do, you're always going to start with a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and then turn your work. And then you're not going to be working into the first, you'll see this upslope here underneath your chain 3. That counts as your first stitch for this row. And then I just want to show you something with the stitch itself. So here, this is the first stitch underneath the chain 3. And then here is your second stitch. Now on the second stitch, you have a back loop and you have a front loop. So we're always going to skip this first stitch, and then we're going to work into the next stitch, and then you go behind the back loop to make your double crochet. And then you're going to come back to your first loop, your first chain, or stitch I mean, and then you're going to work into the front loop of the skipped stitch. So I'm going to show you that now. So you're going to skip a stitch and then work into the back loop of the next stitch. So you yarn over, skip a stitch, go into the back loop of the next stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through 2 loops remaining, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the 2 remaining loops. Then you're going to go into the front loop of the skipped stitch. So you yarn over, go down the center of that first skipped stitch, grab that first front loop, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through 2, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through 2, and then you finished your first cross stitch, or your X. And then the O is created by the space between the 2 cross stitches. So right now we only have the first double crochet, which is how you're always going to start with the chain 3 and then your cross stitch. So I'm going to make another cross stitch with you. We're going to skip a stitch, then yarn over, go into the next stitch right down the center, go in the back loop, bring up a loop, and make your double crochet. Then you're going to go in the front loop of the skipped stitch. So you yarn over, go into the front loop of the skipped stitch, bring up a loop, and make your double crochet. And then you just finished your cross stitch. So you can see the X's created by the cross stitch, and then in between is the O. So you have your X's and O, and this is how simple the stitch pattern is. I just love it. So I'm going to make a couple more with you. You're going to skip a stitch, go down the center of the next stitch, grab that back loop, make your double crochet, then you're going to go into the skipped stitch right down the center, yarn over first, go right down the center, and then you want to go into the front loop and then bring up a loop and finish your double crochet. And that's how easy this pattern is. And you can see all the cross stitches that you're creating. Now I have used this pattern before in one of my older videos, and I used this same pattern for a scarf. So it works really well for a scarf too, or an infinity scarf. So I'm going to show you one more time and then I'll let you finish this row. So I'm going to skip a stitch, yarn over, go into the next stitch right down the center, grab the back loop only, bring up a loop, and then make a double crochet. Then you're going to go back into the skipped stitch in the front loop only, bring up a loop, finish your double crochet, and then you're just going to finish your cross stitches all the way across to the end and then come back. So now I've reached the end and I have, let me count my cross stitches, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 cross stitches, and now I'm at the end and I can make a double crochet into the last stitch. I finished a cross stitch and then I have my last stitch and make a double crochet. So if you want to always end with a double crochet and always start with the chain 3, then start with an even stitch for your starting chain. So now I'm going to chain 3 to move up to the next row. 1, 2, 3. So again, you're starting the row always with a chain of 3, and you already know now how each row is going to work is that you're going to line up with the previous row. So you see the chain 3s are lining up with all of the previous rows, chain 3, and then your cross stitches are also going to line up. So if your cross stitches don't line up or you don't get the same number of cross stitches, then you need to redo the row before you move on to the next row. So again, your cross stitches should be the same number and they should line up with the previous row's cross stitch. So I'm just going to show you now. So here's my previous row's cross stitch, so I know that I'm going to be skipping that stitch and working into that next stitch. So I'm just going to yarn over, skip a stitch, go into the back loop of the previous row's cross stitch, make a double crochet, and then go into the front loop of the skipped stitch, just like we've done before, and they should line up directly with the cross stitch from the previous row. So you can see how it lines up. And then you're just going to repeat this all the way across, where you're making your cross stitches into the back loop and then into the front loop. And it's that simple. And you know you're doing it correctly if your cross stitches line up with the previous row. So I'll show you a couple more. And then I'm just going to back up with the video so you can see from a distance. And it's that simple. And you see how you can take this easily with you. You don't need a pattern to follow. And you know you're working it correctly if all your cross stitches are lining up, and then when I finish this row I should have the same number of cross stitches as the previous row. So go ahead, finish making your cross stitches, and you can make as many rows as you want for your, either if you're making a baby blanket or this hand towel like I am. Go ahead and finish. Remember, you're going to end with a double crochet, and you're going to start with the chain 3, and then you're going to make your cross stitches and make sure all of your cross stitches line up for each row, and then come back when you have the height that you want for your baby blanket or your hand towel. So now you can see how mine turned out. I had 10 cross stitches, 10 rows of cross stitches. Just going to show you them up close. So here you can see that each cross stitch row lines up with the previous row's cross stitch. And you have these little X's, and in between are the little O's, X, O. And then I finished the last row just like the beginning. You had a row of double crochets, just one double crochet in every stitch. And then I finished with one double crochet in every stitch. And then when you finish the last row of either your baby blanket or your washcloth, if you're following along with this washcloth, you're going to go ahead and bring your new color in. So you just finished my last double crochet stitch. I have one loop remaining on the hook. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my new color. So you just bring up a loop with your new color. And you could turn it over if you need to. And then just take and cut the previous color. Leave a loose yarn end for burying into your work. And then go ahead and tie a knot. Make 3. Then you can go ahead and we're going to crochet down the side. So right down the side. And if you notice, down the side you have your chain 3s or your double crochets. So we're going to be working in the gap. So I'm just going to show you with the tapestry needle. So here is the double crochet or chain 3, and then underneath is the gap or space underneath. We're going to be working in this space. And I'm going to bury the loose yarn ends as I crochet, so I'm going to lay those on top of the work so I can work behind them. And then you want to go into that chain 3 space or the double crochet space. You want to go behind the loose yarn ends and then just bring up a loop and make a single crochet. So there's one. You want to make 2 single crochet in the same space. And then you're going to go to the next space. So you're going to go into the next double crochet or chain 3 space and then make 2 single crochet, and you're going to repeat this all the way down the side. So only working in the chain 3 space or double crochet space. So go in that space, go behind the loose yarn ends and make 2 single crochet into the same space. So go ahead and repeat this all the way down the side until you get to the bottom, and then come back. So I'm going to make one more here with you. So you can see how I do it. I'm going to go ahead and cut my loose yarn ends since I've buried them. Gently pull on them slightly. And this is how my work looks. I'm only working in the double crochet space or chain 3 space. So go ahead, finish making your 2 single crochet in each of these spaces until you reach the bottom, and then come back. So this is how my work looks so far. Now I've reached the bottom and I have my last chain 3 space. So I'm going to work 2 single crochet into that space. I'm actually going to work 3. So normally you work 2, but on the corners you want to work 3 single crochet in the same space, and then turn your work to work into this first stitch on the bottom. So go into that stitch and make 2 single crochet into the same space. And you're going to work each of the corners this way. And the reason why you make 1 extra stitch before and after the corner is so that it will lay flat. And then you just make 1 single crochet in every stitch across the bottom until you reach the next corner, and then you see that on the corner you make 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet extra before, and then 1 single crochet extra after. So in this chain 3 space it's 3 single crochet, turn the work, and then it's 2 single crochet in that first stitch along the bottom. And that's how you're going to work each corner. So go ahead, finish making your border all the way around now that you know how, until you get back to where you started, and then come back. So now I'm back to where I started, and you can see how the corners lay flat. And your larger baby blanket will be the same way. I'm just working in miniature, but it should be doing, you work it the same exact way except it's larger. So now I'm back to where I started. I have 1 more stitch remaining. I'm going to make 2 single crochet into that same stitch, that last stitch. Then you can make a slip stitch into the stitch on the side. Then we're going to make our first shell. So you just chain 1, then make a half double crochet into the same stitch. So for a half double crochet you just yarn over, go into the same stitch, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through all 3 for a half double crochet. Then you're going to make a double crochet in the same stitch, so yarn over, go in the same stitch, bring up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, yarn over and go through 2. Then you're going to make another half double crochet. Then you're going to make a single crochet into the next stitch. And then you're going to make a single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And then in that last stitch, let me see something. Oh, I did. So essentially you're going to have two single crochet between the shells. The single crochet in that third stitch is going to be the start of your shell. Excuse me. So now you're going to make a half double crochet into the same stitch. Then you're going to make a double crochet, same stitch. Then a half double crochet into the same stitch. Then you're going to make a single crochet into the next stitch. You're actually going to make a single crochet into the next 3 stitches. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to start our shell in that third single crochet. So you make a half double crochet in the same stitch, double crochet in the same stitch, half double crochet in the same stitch, single crochet into the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then repeat. And then you have your shells. That's how you make your shells all the way down. So this is what mine looks like when you work that pattern all the way down. You can see that it lays nice and flat, which is what you want. And then when you get to the corner, I'm still working it the same way around the corner. So on the third single crochet, I make my shell. And again, I just made my third single crochet, so I'm going to make a shell in the same space, a half, double crochet, half double crochet, and then I make the single crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then I repeat the shell. So go ahead, finish making your shells all the way around back to where you started, and then come back. So now I finished my last shell and then 1 single crochet, and then I'm back to where I started. I'm going to make a slip stitch into the next stitch over. So you go into the next stitch, yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then you can finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. So then you want to turn your work over so you're on the wrong side. Take your tapestry needle onto the long end that you left, the loose yarn end that you left. And then you're just going to kind of bury it through the work. Just weave it through your work so it's nice and buried. And then once it's buried, you can go ahead and trim it. Then you have your finished either a hand towel or a baby blanket. So again, that baby blanket is made this exact same way, except it's larger.